The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Welcome to Moments of Strength. I'm your host, Mary Kaufman. On this show, we don't tell perfect stories of motherhood. We uncover what it actually takes to live it. These are real conversations with women about pressure, identity, growth, the strength it takes to hold it all and even find ways to enjoy it. We are still tasked to raise the world. I'm happy you can join us for today's inspiring journey. And today's guest is Christina, so welcome, Christina.
Hi, thanks.
So happy to have you, yes. And we actually just met through a mom page, I think, here locally, and so had the opportunity to touch base, and you're doing great things here, and I would love for you to share what you have going on now, and we'll start there, but this show really is structured with an aim to uplift the viewers and the moms and everybody out there that is helping us raise the world. And everybody's story is different, and everybody uses, different strategies and runs into different personal issues, but we all have this common thread, and I feel like people can learn from that. So I would love for you to share your story. So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now, and we'll kind of work backward from there.
Sure. And first, I just want to express my appreciation for you and what you're doing.
Oh, thanks.
I've also found that sharing is, in this time of things, so important because we feel a lot of pressure to not be vulnerable and kind of put this mask up to the world. So having an opportunity to sit with you and do that, and tell that story and find connection and similarities, or maybe saying, oh, someone had it maybe a little more difficult or easier, whatever, just ways that we can connect with each other. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
opportunity.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes.
Gosh, going on for me right now, I have 3 children, 17, finishing up her junior year, 17-year-old daughter, a 13-year-old daughter, soon to be 14, and a almost 3-year-old son.
Oh, yes.
So second marriage, pressed a reset, and it felt good back when they were like baby 11 and 15. Everyone was still very compliant, and now at any given time, someone is angry or screaming.
Yes,
so.
Autonomy is a thing.
My husband and I have been married for going on 5 years, but we were really, really great friends before we got married for probably about 6 prior. And I work a full-time job, a part-time job, and I am currently managing I guess I'm evolving it to lifestyle brand type of thing.
Yes.
So that is called Divesting the Domestic. And it's a really funny story.
Yes, share.
Because in this frustration with being a mom and working these jobs, I would get up to take a break, go into the kitchen to take my break, right?
Yes.
Get a cup of tea or something like that and just disconnect from the screen. At the time my son was in daycare, we have a Great Pyrenees puppy who can be a little annoying sometimes, but so there's always a lot of stimulation and I would need to take a break. And then I realized I would get up, I would go in the kitchen, and there would be no break.
Right, because clean like what's needs to be done.
Right. I am like putting away the coffee pot, or like at the time there was like a winter glove on the table, and then it starts the whole mind train, right?
Yes.
Whose glove is this? Why is it left here? If I leave it here, the puppy's gonna grab it and go chew it up, right? And then I sat down and I videoed it and sent it to my friend, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore.
Yes. Good for you.
I'm not tying up all the loose ends. I'm done. And then it kind of turned into a viral angry video. I mean, a lot of people are like, divorce him, all this stuff.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a chronicle. And I realized that in feeling like everything was on me, I was also enabling everyone around me to put those things on me.
Yes. That's a
That's
very
what I'm
good
creating,
point.
right? I'm tying up all this stuff. They don't need to do it because I'm doing it, and I always do it. And it began this big journey of reflection. How did I get here? What am I doing now? What does this mean for, my marriage? What does this mean for my relationships with my children? What boundaries do I need to set? And what does it all mean? And I think throughout my life, I've had a lot of periods of opportunity for growth. Sometimes maybe I took them and sometimes maybe not.
Yeah, probably.
But this in particular, and this is just since December, that I kind of put myself really vulnerable out in the world. Like, this is my messy house.
Yes. That's hard to do.
Is,
that is hard
massive.
to do.
And I since have been talking to my husband about the pressure that we as women feel, like the identity we hold in the cleanliness of a household, or the put togetherness of ourselves or our children, or like the perfection of our lives and that outward appearance. And he just had no concept of what that is. And it just hit me, right? I was like, so you don't have any, like, somebody who walks in the door at home and there's no, like, oh, that's dusty, or, this doesn't convey the story of my family the way these pictures are arranged, right? And he's like, no.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Because I think sometimes in a partner, we want someone who feels and sees what we see, and they maybe genuinely don't, but then we hold them accountable to that they do, and then we punish them for not. And then oftentimes they're just like, what? It's just a different design, I think, there.
Yeah.
And different roles and of course society and all of that. But
exactly.
Yes.
And that has been, this has also just garnered a lot of conversation between the two of us as I've unlocked, like, why am I doing this? Why do I feel this way about these things? I, post this vulnerable picture of my messy house, and I have people saying, well, that's not messy at all, right? So your perspective shifts a little bit too. And then, like I said, I'm questioning, okay, why does this bother me? And so then I started going down this journey of, like, there was one video of, it's like a couch with a couch cover and a couple of items people didn't put away. And I wouldn't say enraged me, but it definitely got some feelings. And I was like, okay, I'm going to share this part of it.
Yes.
Because I think the story behind just a couch cover that didn't get put on the couch is something that in particular our partners don't understand. Certainly children don't understand. And all they see is, mom's upset because the couch cover didn't
They
get
don't
put
understand
on.
the value you hold to the thing that you're mad about.
Yes.
And you probably don't either sometimes.
No.
So that's where it lies, with you, not them.
Yeah. And it, like, made me walk through, why is this bothersome? So for me, that was, okay, the cover didn't get put on the couch. Well, the couch is a nice one, and I have children and animals, and the cover is supposed to go on it so it doesn't get ruined.
Yeah.
Well, if it does get ruined, then we have to spend the money to replace the couch.
Yes.
Or live with it messy, which, has the whole identity crisis, right? And so walking through that, and then, okay, well, then the money to spend on the couch is what I'm working toward in all these jobs and adventures that I'm doing. So, and the time that I spend to do that while giving up, the things that fulfill me, like time with my family, it just went this big arc coming back to, I felt devalued by the couch cover not going on the couch.
Yes.
And walking through that and having them understand that it's not just that the couch cover didn't get put on the couch, right?
Yeah. That's really important. That's also very vulnerable to come on here and, have emotion about that and be vulnerable about that. And I think it's important what you talked about, because they weren't devaluing you.
Right.
That's the important distinction is we set the rules, we make the choice, we inhabit what those things feel, and then we assign that to other people to hold up for us. They have no idea.
No clue.
But if you communicate the things, and even we do communicate in ways, right? Because you are irritated. That's a communication.
Often when we're highly emotional, right, we've already let it build up, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
And then
But
it's
they don't
harder
even
to
hear.
receive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't hear you. And so I really think you've struck something that any viewer has been on one side or the other, has been the child, the parent, the husband, the spouse, whatever, the partner, either doing this or feeling this. So an important topic. So you're chronicling this and sharing it. This is therapeutic. Yeah.
And it's been its own journey of, where do I start? So throughout my life, I've, like I said, had these opportunities, right, of growth, or maybe not looking at the growth then. But this last journey has really been a culmination of a lot of different things. Part of those videos, I'm in the sauna every morning. It's like red light and everything. And I started realizing, okay, I can put these videos out in the world, this chronicle. But what I'm not sharing in all of them is that the work through that's happening in my brain, right? How impactful that was. What did that feel to realize that for me, the couch cover not being on the couch is devaluing who I am and what I'm doing for my family that they never asked me to do. But that I felt like societally or just over time, things fell onto my plate and just never were unloaded. Because it just never felt like a good time to do it.
Yeah.
So the sauna thoughts portion of it also became an area of connection where, again, like, this is social media, right? And the idea to be perfect and, you know, beautiful and everything. And here I am, like, in the sauna, sweating, like pouring my heart out into, you know, times I'm frustrated with, you know, my husband or my children, or, you know, things that have cropped up as we've gone through this. I need to back up a second. So when I started chronicling, I realized if I'm going to share this with other people, I should really have some sort of structure, right? And understanding for myself. And when I realized that the reason I feel like I'm getting walked all over is because I've given everyone around me permission to do it. I was like, okay, I need to set boundaries. So the person who I took care of the least was me, right?
Yes.
So I'm giving everyone permission around me to also treat me last or not consider me, because that's the model I'm giving them, right? And quite frankly, that's the model that we're all given as moms. We are supposed to be all sacrificing, right, for the love for everyone around us. And then it's that whole oxygen mask thing, right? Got to put our own one on first. Anyway, so I started making these rules. I will only clean up after myself. And then I realized I still need to clean up after the toddler.
He's like, what?
He doesn't get it. So then I was like, okay, but how can I make this, like, again, within a right space? So part of it was, okay, I will clean up after the toddler when I am supervising him and therefore responsible for what he's done, right? So if I am, like, on a work project or out of the house, I'm not going to come back and clean up the mess that the toddler
Whatever
left,
happened
right?
here.
Because I wasn't the one responsible for him at that time. Obviously safety stuff, right? Things with the dog, like that glove, right? Can't leave that there.
Right.
I know he's going to grab it, and he did when I left it there.
Yes.
So obviously taking that away from him, which ultimately also is a little bit of self-preservation, because if the dog gets sick and ingests the plastic
Who's
and everything,
responsible for that?
who takes him to the vet? Even if my husband takes him to the vet, when he's back with the cone or whatever,
Yeah.
like who is taking care of him and monitoring that and making sure he gets his pain meds and, you know, whatever. All of that planning and management typically falls on me. And so I had started setting those boundaries. I did not share what I was doing with my family.
Interesting. I like it.
And all of it was just, let's see what happens, right? So the sauna thoughts became like an update. I have created a family meeting structure for my family on Sundays. And it was really interesting, the evolution, because my friend knew I did this, my mom knew I did this. I might have secretly shared with a handful of women, and I was like, no talking, like, don't tell your husbands, because they'll tell my husband, things like that. And I just sat back and tried to see what happened. And the first week, my husband sat across from me and was like, man, the kids have really just not been cleaning up after themselves. And I was like, and it was so hard to hear him saying that, and one, not immediately want to rescue him from the weight of that. That was my first instinct, was, oh, yep, totally a joke. Not a joke,
Explain,
but
and like,
yeah. And then I was like, I should let him sit in this a little bit. And then I was like, and how long do you think it's been that they haven't really been cleaning up after themselves? And he's like, oh, about a week. And I was like, interesting.
A week and their whole lives.
Yeah. Because what I was doing was truly invisible. And one of the things that I learned after the 30 days, and after, so I set myself 30 days.
Okay, 30 days.
And then I did this big reveal thing to them.
Yeah.
I showed them the account. I showed them all the posts.
Yes.
There may have been one post that I was kind of clandestine and filming them cleaning things up, like surprise, surprise. They took it totally in stride. Nobody was unhappy, you know, but when I explained it to them, they were like, oh, you're telling them about us.
Oh, what is this exciting thing?
But one of the really interesting things on the other side of this experiment was that, again, nowhere in that 30 days did they think, something's up with mom. They did not attribute this, like, collapse of our internal household systems to something's up with mom, because they just never attributed it to me in the first place.
Correct. And who owns that? You know, that's the big question is, you know, does the family own that? Do we own that? And you're right, we are compelled to care and nurture and organize. All of those things are, it's a natural maternal state. The problem is the system you're in exploits that, and we participate in that. And there is a time in life and in development, and depending on what society you're in and things like that, where you agree to the system. You know, you're rewarded for all of the things that you just mentioned. And okay, but when that starts to go off the rails and you start to take on everybody else's emotion and everybody else's responsibility and their schedule and everything, the groceries, the way the house looks, everything that you've described here, every time you do that and you don't acknowledge it or allow other people to live in their own experience and learn from that, one, you're robbing them of that experience.
Exactly.
Even though you're noble doing it. And two, you're stepping further and further away from who you are on the inside. So, so what a great example of recognizing that and then teaching your family about it. You know, your family wants to know. It's, you know, I think people sometimes are predisposed to take advantage if it is presented, and maybe that comes from their upbringing or whatever, however they've come through life. If you're willing to do it, I'm going to let you do it. And not only that, but I'm going to give you more to do because that's who I am. Hopefully your family members aren't like that. Sometimes that happens, and then you have to make choices about that. But, you know, your kids want to know, like, they love you. They want you to be happy. They want you to be successful. They don't know how to contribute to that. They don't understand that the state of their room is like literally grating on you, you know, but at the same time, you can close the door, you know, hold them accountable. So it's just, first you have to discover it, acknowledge it, decide you don't want that anymore, and then take steps to fold everybody in, let them know, and continue to make choices around whatever that produces.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is a huge moment of self-reflection. And sometimes we don't want to see that either.
Most
right?
times. Yeah, most times.
Divesting the way that I did, and I realized this as more people had reached out to me and we talked through it. You know, they're like, oh, my partner, you know, gets angry if I don't do this or whatever. It really exposes the, I don't even want to say like weaknesses in a relationship, but maybe imbalances. And, you know, again, this requires a huge communication effort.
Yes.
Right? Not just, you know, the receiving of what you're saying, but also your ability to share it in a way that can be received. And so I realized through this journey that I was still, even after all of this growth I thought that I had done over the last like 15 years as I experienced like adversarial circumstance after the other, that I still was in this state of survival every day. I'm just trying to get to the next piece. And quite honestly, I like had some real growth periods after this. More recently, we've had some stresses within our family, and it's kind of delved back to this survival mode place. And I was so like upset with myself about it because I'm like, I thought I solved this,
right?
You know, but and then I'm just telling me like, Christina, you know that life is an ebb and flow, and you're going to take some steps forward, and then there's a period where it's, you know, have I grown? Because truly we only know if we've experienced true growth under stress.
Yes.
Right? That's where we show that we can do things differently, we can approach things in a different way, or do we go right back to that like deep-seated panic or fawning or whatever it is.
And then having grace for yourself too, because maybe you did solve it, but knowing the answer and then implementing the answer, and then having the patience to wait for the other people to catch up that you, because we want to, it's like, man, I've been working on this, so what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, let's go, and even yourself, like, I've been working on this. Why am I acting like my old self?
Right.
You know, but you recognize it, you know, that's the big thing, and then you can try again.
And awareness is the first part, right? Isn't that like the scientific method? First thing is observe,
yes,
right?
Yes. And admit you have an issue.
Sure, yeah, like you can't solve something unless you know that there is an issue or problem, or maybe it's not a problem per se, but just something to address. And so, you know, it's been this whole big emotional thing. This journey itself, I feel like, would expose then, you know, a relationship maybe not based in mutual, you know, love and compassion, and have people kind of forced to make a choice.
Yes.
There were a lot of women that responded to my content like, oh, I left him.
Yes.
You know, I only found peace living by myself, and now I have control over everything. And I'm like, is that, I mean, it's a path, right?
Yes.
But have we truly solved that, or did we just avoid all of the things that cause conflict, right? So for me, obviously, I have not left my husband and children, but I'm much more open and vulnerable. I can have a conversation like this, you know, with my husband or with my children, where I can bring up, not always, I'll say not always. Yes. There's definitely times I get emotional, and like you said, having grace and compassion.
Yeah, it's a practice skill, you know? Right? Yes.
But I can sit down and calmly explain the parts that I feel like they would connect with. Whereas in the past, I really didn't have another lens other than my pain.
Sure.
And it was a pain that they just did not understand, to the point where my children, in a moment of frustration, were like, here we go, mom's pity party again. Right. And that was enraging and depressing and terrible all at the same time. And just hearing it from my children, who I've done everything for, I've realized I put that on them. My job is to take care of them, right? My job is to provide for them. My job is to create hopefully well-adjusted people that
absolutely
can find fulfillment in their own lives. So it's been a little bit of a reflection journey for myself too. How much do I put onto them that's actually about me? But now I think I've gone away from I'm in pain, nobody's helping me, I'm alone, to okay, this thing right now or this situation is causing some more stress. And here are the ways that I feel stressed when this happens. I would like us to work together on how to combat that or work on a solution, whatever it is. And so it has become a much more collaborative atmosphere. Our family meetings used to be, decline into these lectures and
yes, I went through that same thing, just so you know. But they can become fun where people participate or somebody else leads or it's less about like, here's a laundry list of things I've been collecting for you all to fix because I'm irritated.
And again, if somebody comes at you full of emotion and I think about like you're hanging off a cliff and somebody comes and pops their head over and you're like, save me, right? And and they're like, what? I didn't even know you were there. Yeah. And so it's just, and then they're just, okay, how do I get you off the cliff? Not like, how did you fall off the cliff, and let's go back and think about where you started running toward and how you slipped or whatever. So their immediate thing is just get you off of this. So they don't understand when you are still like in this state of survival because we actually didn't go to the beginning, right? And what caused this trajectory that you are like hanging on by a hand,
yes,
and feeling like, you don't want to fall, but it's going to happen. And so that's been a lot of it too, is first like calibrating myself. And, again, I keep kind of coming back to this, like the most successful structures or ways that I've gotten through things is what's happening with me. What does that mean for me? Who am I right now? And, when I want to like lash out at my husband or my children, what's actually going on? Recently, my husband lost his job, and it was unexpected.
Oh, dear.
We had kind of been planning. He was wanting to go in a different career trajectory, which I was super proud of because I've never seen him so engaged and happy in something, and I want that for him. So this happened a little earlier than we had hoped to make this transition.
Sure.
So things have been really stressful in the last like month or so, and like I said, stress comes up, and then we're really like, who are we and how are things happening? How are we responding? And I am, as difficult as the conversations are, I am so proud of us as a partnership because we can sit down and have a conversation. And we can kind of build up to a moment where, we both recognize now that like, okay, continuing right now isn't the best option. Let's regroup.
Yes.
In 5 minutes. That's the important part.
I'll call you.
And then it's, I think through my own modeling of being able to regulate my own emotions, but then also insist that he regulate his own. And the children learn to regulate their own. Right. There's a period of time, obviously a toddler, they rely on you,
of course,
for that emotional regulation, which is again why stress goes up in the household. Toddler's behavior starts going out of control.
He's not going to regulate that.
No, he doesn't understand. He doesn't, feel what's going on. So then, as we keep this calm, cool, collect as much as possible, then he'll start to level out again. But then as, we get into the teens, they've got all the emotions.
Yes.
Right? And, then it's the baby steps in the self-regulation, which again comes through our own modeling.
Well, if you don't engage, and that doesn't mean you don't love, that doesn't mean you're not there for them. That means this is yours and I'm here, but you're going to have to experience that. And then I'll help you work through how you feel about that when it's done. Not, I'm going to also get spun up and then feed into this. And then eventually you're going to give that to me so much so you don't have to experience it. That now I'm walking around the house stressed about, I wasn't even at the school,
Yeah.
And so that is a very difficult, for, I guess, maybe not for everyone, but for parents who are kind of involved with their kids, learning what that line is, what is theirs, what do you help them absorb, what do you take from them because they can't? I mean, that's a really hard thing to learn, I think. And then of course the teenage years are tough, and we were all teenagers, so we know, but we forget as parents. Those teenage years, the communication is different, and there's just a lot of new dynamics that again cloud. Is this mine, yours, ours? Who's supposed to be feeling bad here, about what's going on?
And they have this whole other set of things that we didn't grow up with.
Absolutely.
And then where do you step in? Where does, friend drama become bullying that they shouldn't experience? Where, we recently brought my 13-year-old home because of having, issues at school. And it was friend stuff, right? There was a lot of drama, a lot of things happening. We've gone through some tough stuff with the kids, just navigating post-divorce and custody issues.
For sure.
Lots of counseling. I will say, actually, I'm like kind of going all over the place here.
That's
but
okay.
One of the most impactful moments of being a mother for me was in the middle of this contentious divorce. I was in and out of litigation for 7 years.
Whoa. Yeah. That's
Divorced, final. Everything else, custody, expenses, 7 years. And one of the most impactful things that happened for me was a guardian ad litem sat me down and she said, "You have to stop fighting for your children." And I'm like, excuse me?
That's counterintuitive.
No, I don't feel like they're safe. They're going through all these things. They're coming home. They're dysregulated. I'm stressed on top of this. It was a very tumultuous time. And she said, his relationship with them is not your responsibility. And that was just like crazy to me because, my job is to protect and from anything, right? And, when she said that, and she said they have their own path, and you are just not responsible for what happens with Dad. And it was so life-changing for me to step back, and really from that moment on was when things started to shift, because I stopped trying to solve the issues with Dad, and I said, okay, my job is to make sure that there's tools in place, like people they can go to. That's not me. I am too emotionally connected to this. And I can't give an unbiased opinion, right?
Impossible.
I don't have one.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I have a very biased opinion about it. And that's when I started building the structure and make sure they were in touch with school counselors, make sure they had their own counselors, make sure we walked through what to do in stressful situations, or if you weren't feeling safe at Dad's, what were your resources? And because the contact with me was would cause additional issues. So they didn't feel like I was even a lifeline to them there. So, you know, because there was just this drama. So it was building a structure that wasn't me to help them save themselves from that situation.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, and I stepped back, and, you know, my husband and I talk about this all the time, where we want to prevent them from going through all the tough things that we did. It's like,
Of course. Yeah.
job number one, right? I don't want your life to be as difficult as mine.
Right.
I think I've accomplished that pretty majorly by getting divorced the first time.
Yes.
And then the growth that I experienced personally, I was not my best self in that marriage.
It's hard to be when it's not a match.
Yes. And I recognize that, right? I was not the best partner. I didn't leave that like, well, you know, I left because I'm better than you. Like, no, I recognize that it wasn't working, and I wanted something else. And that self-discovery that I had after, which was immediately met with an even deeper issue. I had started seeing someone, and then within months became a victim of domestic violence.
Oh my God.
And so I'm newly divorced, actually not even finalized divorce. And, you know, I met somebody I thought was great, very classic, narcissistic situation. Now I can see. Didn't see it in the moment.
No, but you're probably running from something to something that seems safe, and that
Oh my gosh.
is so welcoming
Yes.
in that scenario.
Right.
So how would you
Exactly.
know?
Here's everything that I wanted, you know, from this relationship I'm leaving. Created, unfortunately, a perfect opportunity for someone like that to take advantage of. And then, you know, I find myself isolated from my support system, which was already small. And that's something I think is a big challenge for all of us now. We don't have a village anymore.
No.
We're so isolated. We're probably away from family, or our family dynamic isn't supportive in that type of way. Our parents don't have a choice to, you know, come and watch your children because they have to keep working or something, right? Like the whole dynamic. I can talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was a really life-changing moment too, because I realized that one of the moments when I left my first marriage, I remember talking to a friend and saying, I just don't feel like I can leave. It's not like he's physically abusive. So I was just like diminishing all this emotional stuff, feeling like I had no sense of self, you know, but at least he doesn't abuse me physically. Like, that was
murky.
my threshold.
Yeah, it's murky.
And then I get into this relationship where I was abused physically. And so I was like, okay, this is, there's something not right about how I'm approaching relationships.
Right. Or there's something not right about the people that,
That too.
you know what I mean? Because see, we do own, we should have ownership in things, right? But also, it's two people.
Yes.
Yeah. You should not be treated like that.
No.
Yes.
Never. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to
Absolutely.
put that
Nope.
out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
But I see what you're saying.
I recognize at this point that for me, the chaos of always providing for others, always like tiptoeing around like what someone else wants, which is very classic,
Yes.
narcissistic, you know, typically into abusive relationship. I was very familiar with that. I, you know, grew up in a household with, you know, a narcissistic mother. That's really tough and painful to say, because I realized that the relationship I wanted the most was the one with my mother. And recognizing that that had really nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Yes.
That is not part of that equation. But anyway, that's part of all of that journey. So that's why I say, like, really early on, I felt like I have not provided that type of environment for my children, so I must be ahead of the game. And then I like married into, not a great relationship, or one that didn't make me my best self. And then as I went through and had these other experiences, I realized that I had no idea who I was. All I thought about was, what are the next steps I should take? What does everyone else want from me? And how do I fulfill that? Not what do I want?
Right.
And even
that was probably so far away from even, because you're really in survival mode at this time, right? You're really in survival mode. You're really, I mean, you escaped one thing, went into something else, you know. It even probably ties back to like childhood, you know, and that never gets resolved. It's like, it might not have been are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It wasn't your fault, as you mentioned, like with your mom, but you still carry that with you. And until you can try to resolve that, then okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just went down the wrong tube.
That's okay. That will just continue to follow you, and it shows up in relationships, it shows up in parenting, because you'll swing really far the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want to provide that for your kids.
Right.
You want your kids to have this mother that you wanted, and so you try to be her, and then it overextends into doing everything, which is where the show started. Right?
Exactly.
So,
and that's, to your point, that's just as unhealthy.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And we aren't trained, you know what I mean? Like, we don't go through some motherhood training other than what we experience, which is probably flawed. So,
Yes.
so then we hold ourselves accountable to be the perfect mother. We think the perfect mother is not experiencing whatever horrific or even minor inconvenience, whatever the range is there. We don't want to provide that for our kids. We overcompensate. None of this has anything to do with who maybe we are by design or what we want. It's, you know, playing the role successfully, trying to create these humans that come out and are okay, that don't suffer, which, by the way, is life. So now you're robbing them of learning what it's like to suffer. I've been there too. So, yeah, I mean, you don't deserve to be in a relationship where somebody is being horrific to you.
Yeah.
But you will kick in survival. You will protect your kids at all costs. You will, if you get divorced, fight for your kids when they're not there. It's not your responsibility, but they are your kids, so you will feel compelled to do that.
Yeah.
And you will do that inside a relationship too. You will manage the relationship with their dad. It's not yours to manage. They're not having an authentic experience with who that is, but if that's threatening, what's your role?
Right.
You know, so it's so complex. And I think what you've shared about really asking yourself, you know, and this always happens, of course. Well, can it happen when you're younger? I mean, you don't know anything, but like this age range where your kids, now you have a toddler, but you also have a 17-year-old, you know, so it's like you start to see that your kids are individuals. Yeah. And the older kids, they don't need you as intensely in person, guiding every moment. They need you in different ways.
Yeah.
All the time, but I mean, not in person demanding things from you, right? Because they still emotionally hijack you and stuff like that.
It may still be like a wavering, need you 1 minute, definitely don't need you the next.
But they're becoming their own people.
Yes.
That opens up this weird portal where we're like, what's in there? Like, am I familiar with that? And who is that person? And, well, did she want to come out? You know, like, and so this is where you are with this reflection.
And not taking it personally.
Yeah.
That is so tough.
Yes.
You know, just like I want people to understand that if I am, you know, in my luteal phase, like, you probably want to give me a nice birth, right? Like, I recognize that. But I kind of feel like teenagedom is like a very long, basically, luteal phase for, you know, teenagers. And in particular, I have teenage girls right now, so that's very much what it feels like. So there can be lashing out, there can be anger, there can be, you know, crying at a moment's notice, or, you know, pin drop, whatever. And that can just be, you know, again, being that person. So much of my role, at least in the household too, has been that emotional regulation. And when I'm dysregulated myself, it is so difficult to regulate those around me. And then again, choosing, you know, where do I need to step in for regulating this? Or, you know, my girls will, you know, kind of go at it with each other, and it's nothing physical. I feel like I've heard stories like teenage boys, it's like physical fights, and girls, it's like this kind of catty thing. They've identified, or at least my 13-year-old has identified, that she feels that separation of their connection as my oldest, you know, is having much more time outside the home and different priorities.
It's
and
hard.
So she's dealing with that. So we want to support her, but then also support the, you know, emerging adult, you know, with my oldest. But we talk about these things. That's part of our family meeting. We bring up these issues and we work through them together. We've tried to work on the emotional speak, right? And not talking, you did this, you did that, but I felt this way when this happened, because that's really, when we're trying to communicate with people, we want them to understand our experience.
Yes.
Not what their intention or actions were, but how we experienced it.
Yes.
That's been a really big shift too with me and my husband. For him, he's like, well, I didn't intend for this to hurt you or whatever. And like, but this was my experience of it.
Yes.
And I need you to just understand that that was my experience of it, and I need you to take ownership of that. And then oddly enough, like, we can then move right into how do we repair and go on to the next thing. But it definitely takes vulnerability. It takes an understanding that sometimes we don't intend to hurt people or create conflict, and it happens anyway.
Yes.
Because we all come into any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic or, you know, a parental child, or just a relationship sitting down, right? We all bring our background and what we've been through, and that person may have no idea, or they may know every aspect of that, or as much of that as any other person outside of your own body and mind can.
Yes.
Because ultimately, we still keep so much inside, you know. And in my account, I do try to be very vulnerable. And like I said, doing that on a social media account is pretty scary because people aren't being vulnerable in that way. And even if they are bringing up conflict or, you know, issues with marriage or things like that, it's always kind of quirky, funny, or staged. And, you know, I'm just real. It's basically become a video diary.
Yes.
You know, but that is where we don't have those real conversations amongst ourselves anymore. We don't have an opportunity, you know, culturally with women to have a space where I can sit down and say, you know, I felt devalued by my family today. I feel alone. I feel isolated, even though I'm surrounded by people all the time.
Yes.
I feel like I can never catch up. These things, we don't say that out loud.
No. You can say it here.
Yeah.
I can book you here to come and say it, but yeah.
But, you know, because again, we're in a society where if we're vulnerable, we reflect, right? So if somebody peels back that layer, the other person feels obligated to do that. And they probably don't want to do that.
No.
Most likely you're going to meet people that don't want to do that, because then if they peel back that layer, it creates their own self-reflection, and we may not be ready to do that. That is totally okay.
Sure. Yes, definitely.
Right? Everyone is at their own spot, their own journey. And again, even with this account where I want to be an example, I literally this morning in my sauna thought video realized that I've been intermittent in posting because things haven't been great.
Oh,
and I feel
so be
this
more
pressure.
selective.
Yeah, I feel this pressure to, like, oh, I did this experiment and I've created this. I've been working on tools that I feel like can help alleviate some of this invisible mental load stuff. But still, things are tough. Can be tough. there have also been really great, time periods since December that, I've been, things have been going really wonderfully, and I've unlocked a lot of stuff. Something that was very impactful to me recently was Mother's Day, which I approached very differently this year, mostly because through this whole journey, I realized that a spa day doesn't help me. Flowers don't help me. Breakfast in bed doesn't help me. These things are nice, and we're all groomed to be so deeply appreciative of that. But what I really need is all the loose ends that my brain is connected to. I need those to be closed.
Yeah.
That's what helps me. That's what gives me rest, right? If I go to a spa for the day and I come back, and not only is everything I was working on still there, but now there's all the things I didn't get to for that day still there. I wind up in a deficit again, right?
Yes.
So I read this study about how more sleep actually is not impactful for women. And what is more impactful is the completion of that ticker tape in your brain. That is what closing those, completing those tasks, closing up those worries. That is what gives you rest, not more rest.
Right.
Isn't
And
that
I
crazy?
think, yeah, well, it is, but I feel like rest when those are open is just laying down while those are open. That is not restful. But closing them allows you to lay down and not think about things. So I see what you're saying. Mother's Day for me, since my kids were young, I'm like, please don't take me to brunch. Please don't serve me breakfast in bed. Just, I want to hang out. Like, I don't want to go anywhere, but I have to, don't make me get up and shower like immediately, because it's just different. And people will compare like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day, whatever, as different. Because mothers get to do things with their family on Mother's Day, and fathers get to golf, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
I also don't want to golf on Mother's Day.
No.
So
No thanks.
yeah, so that's different. But I think being honest about that, and there are people who a spa is like, yes, they do want to do that. For me, no. And so yes, your point is taken about Mother's Day, but letting your family know that, and not just enduring. If they didn't ask and you didn't tell and they bring you French toast and whatever art projects, of course. But if you communicate that, you can be kind about that. And then what you're doing is you're teaching them to what? Talk to you that way. Communicate what they want. And they can be gracious about that as well. So
And the thing I value most about being a mother, for me, what would ideal Mother's Day is just spending time with them, because I don't actually get to spend completely no pressure, no timing time with them. And to your point, like going to brunch, you have to have reservations, you need to shower, get dressed, it's what I want was, if I think about what fulfills me as a mother, just a complete no pressure day to sit with each other and have conversations and enjoy ourselves. And, part of that, again, is this not needing to worry about the other things. And maybe that's where, the idea of like, oh, someone will cook or clean or whatever. And that's all wonderful. And to be clear, I love the spa.
Yeah.
I love the spa. I just don't see it as this, I don't know, there seems to be this viewpoint that like, if you could just get a day of rest, or why don't you go take a nap or something like that, that's just what you need. You just need to shut down for a little bit. And it's actually like, no, what I actually need is like a team of moms in my house for the day. That's what I need.
But you'd even, you know what? You'd even try to organize them.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, okay, I need you in here. Yeah.
So, you know, and then, you know, with the sleep thing, that's supposed to be our reset.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we talk about things like chronic illnesses with women, you know, ADHD, anxiety, all of these things that are, you know, it's like chicken or the egg, right? Like, do I have these things because I have them and it makes things more difficult, or have these things become, you know, part of my reality because I'm in a situation where I can't focus on anything at once, but at the same time, I must focus on everything at once.
Yes.
Because nobody else is going to do it. And I will say, one of the more freeing things through this whole thing is when things were going really well for that period of time, and I had asked everyone, I said, all I need is for you to pick up your own stuff and the toddler for watching him, or keep the dogs safe or whatever. If you could just get your own things back to your space.
Yes.
If you could just clean up the dishes that you use for the lunch that only you ate, you know?
Right.
If you could just do that, then I don't have that, like, tying up everything for me, and I can actually, then my mind can rest for a second. I can enjoy a cup of tea. Then I can go back to my work, or then I can approach, you know, a stressful situation from school with, you know, not my own background in drama. And, you know, that actually worked really well. And I found that my own processing power, like, exponentially increased. Like, just these little, like, not having to worry about everything that was kind of out all the time. And, you know, there's this thought of, you know, a house that's cluttered is like a cluttered mind or whatever. And for me, that's absolutely true, because every time I, like, look around and I'm like, oh, there's a fluff of dog fur or, you know, whatever, it's like the thought goes, fluff of dog fur, when was the last time I vacuumed? And, oh, you know, the 13-year-old did it last time. Got to talk to her about, you know, how to complete it. Like, it's not, again, just the fluff.
Right. You're not everybody else in your house who just walks right by it.
Right. Because they literally don't see it.
They don't see it. Yeah, and you're hyper attuned.
There was a time period where there was a set of, like, a vacuum cleaner and a steam cleaner. We do these big deep cleaning days twice a month, so every other week, where we all work together, top to bottom, clean the house. And so these were left out, and I wasn't the one that had taken them out or used them. They were left out here in the closet where they belong. It's here. And it's like, you walk down the steps and you come around this corner, there's the closet, there's this hallway, here's my front door, and here's the cleaners.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking at you every day.
For me, I have to walk past the cleaners every single day. And it's, you know, if I answer the door, there's cleaners in the way, you know, whatever. So that is a part of my life. And after I exposed the whole experiment and everything, I was like, you know, so what did you think seeing the cleaners every day? And my 13-year-old is like, I never even noticed they were there.
No, not at all.
She just didn't. And so that's part of this too, is we create this story where everyone is working against us. And it's just not true.
No, and at 13, nothing's, like, she's not seeing it. Developmentally, she's not seeing it. So much is going on. Well, at every stage of growth, but at 13, it's like you're just trying to manage the internal thing, the internal growth, and the external pressure. That you can't. A cleaner, it's like not even. You don't even remember you walked down the hallway. Like there's just so much going on. But as parents, and there's a reason, you know, they have parents. It's to introduce those things, you know. The cleaners were there.
Then that's the part of it too is, do I really want her to have the same level of anxiety about these cleaners that I do?
Like,
no.
My brain's exploding.
I truly don't, you know. And so that's, you know, it's been this big internal journey.
But did anybody teach you any of this? No. It's like, you can take a class, and I really do think this should be part of curriculum. You know, just as kids are growing up, like at every age, yeah. Anyway, I've been brainstorming about that, but it's such this shocking indoctrination to motherhood. Like, you could have seen it, you don't know. Now you have these humans who are like reliant on you, hold you accountable to everything. And you have to teach them how to do that correctly. And also, are you doing it correctly? And you've never done it before, but you're going to hold yourself accountable that you should know. Do you know? Did the person who wrote the book that you read and now are behaving like, did they really know? So, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough. And I think what makes it less, or what would make it less chaotic and painful, is if we learned as women from young to hold on to that internal tug. That this is really part of my aim now that I'm done with my doctorate and everything, just like that's the path I'm on, is how do we as women help other women with internal authority come back to it? But how do we help younger women and moms not let go of it entirely? Yes. You will. I mean, you will, because you'll be pulled toward other things, and that's how you grow as a person. But how do we teach kids when they're young to hold on to that thing? You know, how do you bounce off the things you want to explore with what speaks to you inside? You can't know who you are at 12. Right. But you have an inkling. You have a feeling that isn't for me, you know. And instead of, you know, being a female who's like, that isn't for me, but I'm going to override that because the expectation is that is for me. And then I'm going to do that so often in my middle school and high school years that I'm suddenly on a path that is so far from what was me, but I don't know how to get back. Yep. I've become comfortable. I've become rewarded for it. It might not even be bad. It could be a productive, happy, great path. Still doesn't mean it's here. Yeah. And in 20 years, when you're in your 40s, that portal, you know what I mean? You're going to have a moment where you look in there and it's like, she's in there. Like, who is that? And how do I get back to her? And
that's, I think, where we have just become very lost. Again, I go back to that village, right? Interpersonal connection. We're so over-informed and disconnected. You know, again, we have this idea that vulnerability is that vulnerable, right? Like you are making yourself available to be hurt. That's the other aspect of that, is that you could be hurt by, you know, peeling off your skin and saying, here's what's underneath. You're giving someone else the opportunity to say, oh, like, don't like that. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And that's what we always imagine. I have found through being a victim of domestic violence and my journey to becoming a survivor of domestic violence, so much of that was sharing. I, you know, was part of getting some legislation passed that changed, you know, with the way victims were treated throughout the judicial process. If something went through the legal system. And those connections that I made with other people that had, you know, survived abuse of all types, abuse or victims of crime, things like that. And it's all, you know, people, you know, didn't plan to be in those situations. It came all of a sudden. And hearing them hear my story and say, oh my gosh, I don't know how you got through yours, when you're like, what? Like, yours is way worse than mine. You know, like, all of us kind of disassociate with our own experience. But then there was also this like deep connection in understanding that someone else has gone through something pretty terrible. And we're all on the other side of it, and now we're trying to effectuate change so that other people don't go, you know, we can't prevent terrible things from happening to people, but we can change how they're treated through that process. And we did, and that was very impactful, because I realized that we need to share. We need to talk. we need to talk about this stuff, the stuff that doesn't feel great talking about. You know, I'm a very open person. I talk about all of the tough spots in my life. You know, I've been on government assistance. I was a single mom, you know, working full time and, you know, managing my 2 smaller children while in this state of, you know, survival, emotional turmoil, and trying to figure out what my next steps were. I was in survival for most of my life. And again, I can still dip back there sometimes.
Sure.
But I think the important thing is, like, where's your baseline, right? So as you grow and as you learn, where's your baseline? Are we always, you know, at a point where we're, you know, crying in a corner of our room, like not knowing what the next steps are, or just breaking down emotionally? Or are we able to say, okay, you know, this is a tough time. I know it's not the end. I think that's a big shift from being in survival mode and getting out of it, is understand that there's always an end to that tough time. You've come out of them, right? We've had the tough times, and then we come out, even if it's just a little blip, and then things kind of get terrible again. There are things to work toward. There are moments in our life that can be fulfilling. And again, so much of that comes from, what do I want? Who am I? And like I said, the freedom that comes with setting the boundaries around yourself, taking care of yourself, putting your oxygen mask on first. You know, having that deep conversation with your partner that can be super scary, because again, maybe they say, yeah, I don't care. In my first marriage, I went to my partner and I said, you know, I'm not happy right now, and, you know, all these feelings. And he said to me, well, I'm fine with the way that things are. And I internalized that. Something must be wrong with me if I'm not satisfied then, because he's happy. So something must be wrong with me. And now I realize, like, oh, that should have been my first, like,
that summed up why.
You're fine with me not being fine. That's not fine. You know? So, you know, figuring out who you are first. And I think that's really important for me with my daughters, and of course with my son as he grows up, is I want them to have some sense of self, much like you were saying. I want them to have some shred of who that core person is that they can come back and align to when things go awry. Because again, life, there's going to be ups and downs, but who do we come back to? And sometimes that's not, you know, a column. Sometimes we change. I mean, we do change, right? Our
Absolutely.
core selves. You know, again, for a lot of my life, I had very different priorities than I do now. And, you know, right now I see myself as, you know, an agent for change. And whether that's just breaking this generational trauma cycle, that's my responsibility.
Whether it's just doing that.
Just that. Or whether it's really making huge impactful change across the world, just by sharing my own story and what's worked and hasn't worked. And
which, by the way, you have done with legislation. Few people do that and actually affect change. So, okay, you've done 2 things. That's on your list.
Yeah, and, you know, it doesn't feel like enough, because I still look around me and we have conversations like this, and I feel like those are few and far between.
The problem isn't solved. You know, you can have huge impact and the problem isn't solved. So in my research, I talked to mothers, much like this, but confidential interviews, and the things that were shared with me about the journeys of women to and through motherhood from, you know, when they were born. After all of that, and there were highs and lows, there were some very difficult journeys that I experienced through those stories. And by the end, you know, it's just like when I walk through the world now, it's like every, 5 and 6-year-old little girl out there playing. And I see them and I think they have no idea what's coming in the next 40 years. And it's just like, it's too hard. And so I don't want them to do that. I want them to run and play like they are in the yard, just freely, because that is what they're compelled to do. They're not asking permission. They're not second guessing themselves. They're not giving, oh, you tell me what to do because I've committed to you. Like none of that. And so I want that for them as they grow. And I want that for my own daughters. I want that for me. And I had that for a long time. And then, this like launching into being responsible for other people and then relying on other people, and you can get kind of lost there. So how do we help the girls not be lost, It doesn't mean don't explore, it doesn't mean don't have adventures, it doesn't mean don't have experiences, but what is the question? What is the way, do you ask yourself, would I do that to myself? Like, okay, but they did.
Right.
So, no.
Right.
Like, what is that? And I feel like it's got to be something, pretty firm and,
Also, how do you guide that when you are
if you aren't
figuring
that.
it out yourself, right?
If you
and
aren't
how do you
that.
keep your own stuff? I mean, recognizing that my daughters are separate from me, even though I did think I learned this is this like age of information at fingertips, right? Being a mom of a toddler has been now in my 40s is very different from being in my early 20s as a mom of toddlers or mid 20s. But the things I know now about child development and how things are formed and how their brains work are so different from what I knew 17 years ago.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful for all of it because it's definitely helped me approach things in a much different way. But understanding that, where did I go with that? Oh, one of the coolest things was the whole idea that your cells intermingle with your baby, right? And so you are literally like the same person. And how often babies say, dada or something else before they say mama is because they don't view you as separate. They don't need a word for you. I am you, you are me, and it still kind of gives me goosebumps because there is this deep connection that we have. And understanding that ultimately they're still their own people as they grow up and make choices and whether you would support them or not.
I know.
It's a whole other ballgame, this teenagedom, especially with young women, because again, I look at who I was at 17 and I don't want that for my daughter. As many things that I might have felt proud about accomplishing and stuff like that, I was in a lot of dangerous situations that I just didn't know any better about.
Sure.
We talk a lot about consent, what is truly consent and how much autonomy she has over her body or not, and ways that things are framed to make it seem like it's her choice when it may not be. So we talk about all this stuff, and again, I'm learning so much about the male life and expectations as my husband joins me on navigating this, and he's okay, this is what you need to watch out for, and I'm like, oh yeah, but there's a whole other level. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no, like she has to have this awareness of herself because for women it's dangerous. It can be very dangerous. There's a book I read recently and the author mentioned how even walking down the street she felt compelled to smile at the people walking by her because there's this inherent fear that if you don't set an example of, I'm a nice person, that somebody else may take that personally and do something about that. And like how often do you hear, a male say, "Oh, just smile,"
No,
like
it's not.
It's
It's the steam cleaner. It's like it's not the same. Yeah.
So that really hit me too, because I didn't even realize that just in a public setting, I have this like compulsion to make sure that I'm nice to people, because I don't want to create a situation where somebody perceives that as a personal slight and then I'm in danger. And a lot of that's also my own anxiety, I'm sure. I definitely, I have these crazy intrusive thoughts, and I'm recognizing that it's anxiety, ADHD, probably all the things.
Sure.
But, part of working through it is, sitting in that crazy thought and like, that's not actually happening.
Yeah.
And then teaching, again, these tools that I've learned as I see my children go through the same things.
And to your point about, girls and consent and all of that, you're also raising a son, me too. And so we are responsible for teaching the other side of that, because as demonstrated, it's not perceived the same way. And then it's villainized, people say like men are this and that. And we have to raise them too, with awareness, and that's difficult as a woman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, educate. Fortunately, we're in a world where we have information at our fingertips for even the things that we didn't experience from the other side, and try to raise our sons to be people who support women and protect women and all those things.
And I do have a wonderful example with my husband. He's incredible and supportive, and does, when I share those things, again, he is receptive. We're not perfect by any means. We are two separate people, so there will be conflict. But when I bring up that kind of thing and we walk through it, it's always interesting for us to get each other's perspective on like a college party, and what to think about when you're there. And, I found, again, often for him it was pretty surface, and for me as a woman it was a danger zone, right? And like where you want to enjoy yourself, but there's just a lot that could go wrong. So just having those perspectives, walking through them, talking about how we're raising our son, him basically being raised by 4 adults. Like we're all pretty enamored with him, unfortunately. But my husband is wonderful about, open about the girls' periods and stuff like that. It's not like taboo or off topic, which is so great, because even growing up, I grew up with 3 brothers, and so it's just me and my mom, and it's hard to, I was also the oldest. I'm sure that's a surprise. But it was hard to be feminine in that sort of household.
Why would you impose that on them?
Right.
That is a thought from before, We talk about that freely in our house too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's women dominated in our home anyway. So a lot of teenage girls at the same time too. And, my youngest is 12-year-old boy, and he knows. You know what? He knows about it, and it doesn't concern him, and he's not offended. Yeah,
that's what it should be.
Yeah, it's part
knowledge.
of what, yes.
My husband's like, it's a body.
Yeah,
it's a feminine body. Like, that's what happens for you. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
happen for me. I'm glad it doesn't. But, I recently saw a video just about understanding when we talk about coming to things at a disadvantage,
Mm-hmm.
even recognizing things like our cycle and the hormones.
Mm-hmm.
How often are we blamed for being like, emotional during
Mm-hmm.
certain periods of time? But it's not something I control.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hormones.
Right.
That's just what happens, and that's what's happened to make me have this body that can grow a human.
Mm-hmm.
How incredible is that?
Right.
But there's also like a tax to pay for it, right?
Yes, right.
And even for myself, recognizing that, whether it's a funny video that is talking about, just kind of hating everything in your luteal phase, or all the things you overpromise, when you're ovulating, and understanding that about yourself. That was a big part of my adulthood, womanhood, motherhood part is understanding how my cycle affects me.
What's even happening?
That wasn't something we were told growing up.
No, no.
Contraception, was always just, you can only abstain, and it's like, well, no, scientifically, that is not accurate.
I have to research this.
And so just having knowledge about what's happening with this and how it affects my brain and how I approach things. I don't know, just I feel like the last 15 years has been this big download of so much. And I'm a sponge for knowledge, and I love to like take this and apply it. And as I mentioned, like hearing things about the sleep study and like, oh, that's why. And I look for a lot of explanation in everything. And it helps me find purpose, and again, helps me prioritize and, eventually save the world, obviously.
Yes.
So.
That's what we're here for. That's what the show is. Okay, so what you are doing with that now, we should talk about what you are doing and how, what you're doing currently, and then if people wanted to get a hold of you or wanted to follow you, or how do they do that and where do they do that? We'll talk a little bit about that.
I am so excited and so I don't even have words for the creation that's happened in the last few months. The biggest one is what started off as a chore app.
Yes.
And then I realized this doesn't even touch the surface of what I need, right?
Yes.
So basically I'm like, how can I offload this stuff? This like constant everyday, the reminders and, all of it. How can I also take into consideration that every day is a different day?
Yes.
Right. Kids have activities. I have different things going on. Maybe I didn't sleep well or enough, or the toddler woke up in the middle of the night or whatever. So I've been building this app that's actually become more of like a household management app. One of the key things is there are 2 admins, not just one.
Weird.
2 admins. And like I said, it's primarily management of all the things. We've found in beta testing for my own family, of course, they beta test all of my ideas, that adds the chores like cycle. So it assigns, it syncs with your calendar.
Okay.
Then it assigns chores based on availability for the calendar.
Love.
And then you've got 2 check-ins, once first thing in the morning. So if you check in, and again, I say like, okay, energy level is like a 4 out of 5. Sleep quality was like a 2 out of 5. It will adjust.
Okay.
Right?
Do the other people in the house enter those things? Okay, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone participates. That has the wherewithal to participate.
Yes.
Little guy's not in it yet. But it's taken us away from the monotony of like, okay, you have cat litter Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yes.
And then, you have it Tuesday, Thursday, but 17-year-old has something going on today, so she can't, there's this management to it all the time.
Yes, and it takes away that live interaction where it can go, because someone's irritated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The emotional management
gone.
of everything. That was what I was trying to really offload, because we had the chore apps. I got this really amazing like big frame thing that had the chores on it. But again, it was like, okay, I see this got missed, or oh, this is always on someone's plate. But it started actually years ago before even creating this account. But I was like, my 13-year-old hates doing the cat litter. My 17-year-old loves to organize. Okay. You guys, here's all of the things that we have to do in the household. What does everyone hate?
Yeah.
And go figure, none of us hated the same thing.
Yeah. Amazing.
What? So instead of forcing people to do something they didn't want to do, it's like, why don't we all just do what we want to do?
Right.
We can, right? There's no like lesson learned in like making someone that hates doing cat litter do the cat litter, because when they grow up, they just won't have a cat.
Yeah. Okay, lesson learned.
So, we took it even as far as, 17-year-old loves organizing. Cool, she can organize her sister's room, who she hates it, right? we did go away from that. That was like a venture into territory, and then, well, maybe we're teaching not great example. But anyway, so this app manages all that for you. And the only thing you have to do is like, tweak the chores to what works for you, set the timing. So I have like, this needs to be at least 3 times a week. Totally cool if daily, but then that tells the system it can drop it off if everyone's stressed or whatever. We've built the family meeting framework into it. So, when we have a family meeting, we just click start the family meeting. Our family meeting structure, we all check in with each other emotionally first. If we understand that everyone's exhausted, then we know like we're not going to go into deeper stuff today. Like we're going to keep it light, whatever. So that's built into it. Deep clean days, self-care, the check-ins have those reminders like brush your teeth and wash your face, and the things that
this is great.
Most kids, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you are saving the world.
So that's my short-term solution, and a stepping stone into at least giving moms or women, because by the way, I definitely have a lot of friends that do not have children that feel those same pressures, just in being in a partnership and a household, and like, and even if you're not in a partnership at work, seeing those same kinds of expectations just on you as a woman.
Yes.
So this app in particular, I just want to like, let's offload some of this so that you can get a little bit of that brain power back and solve your other stuff, I also have several like e-guides. One of them is things like, I did this whole AI stylist wardrobe thing, which for me was always very stressful. I was not comfortable with my body, had no idea, what fits well or not, what's supposed to do things. And then my friend spent thousands and thousands of dollars with the stylist, and I was like, cool, I don't have thousands of dollars to move to that, so I'm going to create this. AI has been wonderful for me, by the way, because it's like, there's that extra brain I needed.
Yes.
So it's just, like an e-guide prompt for you to use AI to figure out your own style and what fits you, and been kind of beta testing that with a lot of women and my children, of course. Like I said, family is always the beta tester. So that's their family meeting guide for anyone that's not ready to jump into an app. And then, of course, just the support and community. So I'm building out the website. Eventually, I want that to be a place where we can come and be vulnerable, because I do find that even on the social media accounts in particular, where I can set that stage, I did receive a lot of messages of people that didn't feel like they could comment on something because it's tied to their account. And they weren't ready to be vulnerable with that. And then eventually doing all the things, go into, coaching or group sessions, and just your own divesting journey, right? So that was me divesting that domestic load, that invisible load. And like I said, things aren't perfect, but they are lighter.
Right.
And
well, is perfection the goal?
Never.
No. It's just improvement, I think.
Never.
Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, learning.
I mean, the goal is, like I said, maybe a different baseline. Reclaiming myself, my brain.
Absolutely.
Being able to enjoy those personal relationships that I chose to be in, and not, being distracted by, who needs to get what kid to which game, and, what's happening, and just, again, surviving day to day. It's just, it's not living.
No.
And living your life is, there's more substance to it than just getting from point A to point B. But we just, again, I totally recognize my part in creating the environment, right? Like, I had maternity leave, so I, by default took on primary caretaking of, the children, and then that didn't shift.
No.
Right? So, everyone's life is different, and I just hope, I've seen that putting myself out there, working through things with myself have seemed to at least help people identify where to start with their own things. And so I don't want anyone else to have to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, you're creating many wheels right now, and it's very helpful.
So yeah, I'm at Divesting the Domestic on basically all the channels.
Okay.
And there is a sign up for the app when it goes live. That's just divestingthedomestic.app.
Okay.
And people can sign up for that. And then, of course, the biggest part of that whole journey is connections like this. And so anyone that wants to share or commiserate or give feedback, any of that, I just love the opportunity for connection, and they're always welcome to message me or reach out, and I would love to connect.
Yeah, this is great. So before we wrap up here, and this has been a lot, I think it's been super valuable, and you have been vulnerable, and you are not alone. That's the whole point of the show, is women feel like this and feel alone.
Yeah.
And we feel alone among other women and our families. Not all the time, you know, but it's there. And so this has been helpful. And if you had, you know, maybe something to say for somebody who hears this and maybe hasn't done anything about it yet, but just as you've been in many situations and at many points in your life, you know, had to make a move or had to have a thought or had to make a choice, do you have, and I'm putting you on the spot, but do you have anything you would like to say, just advice or anything?
Yeah, I do. First of all, it's always okay to be there. There is nothing wrong about where you are right now. And then the other part, and I'll have to explain, is wet the toothbrush. Okay. There's times in my life, like I said, severe survival mode, getting from one point to the other, not taking care of myself, and brushing my teeth felt like the world, like the hardest thing. I just wanted to get to bed, right? And it's just that, what's that immediate next step? If I just go grab that toothbrush and wet it, if I just wet it, then I'm gonna easily put on the toothpaste, and then I'm just gonna brush my teeth, right? Because I took that step. And I think a lot of times when we are again presented with that step, that first step, and we say all the time, right? Just take that step and frame it in that easily digestible, tiny little thing that you can do. Even if that tiny little thing is just being honest with yourself about where you're at, then the next step becomes easier, and the next one becomes easier. And then the next time that you're on that precipice, it's easier to take that little step again. But I've also caused controversy with my family, because when I told them to wet the toothbrush, they said, who wets their toothbrush and then puts toothpaste on it? And I was like, what do you do?
Thanks.
And they put toothpaste on and then wet it?
Yeah.
What?
No thanks.
So if it's wet the toothbrush or put the toothpaste on, whichever the baby step is.
Yeah.
That just figure that out. What's that tiny little thing that you can do, that step in the direction you want to go? Right isn't the same for everyone. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be the smallest thing, you know. If you can see the trajectory even, like if you can envision that, you know, that one small step, and then if you take 2 or 3 more, momentum is crazy. It will help, you know.
And the other thing too, not being afraid to want a future. I know it sounds strange, but when you're in survival mode and you're just trying to get from one step to the next, you never look ahead. Aside from like, what's happening on Fridays so that I can plan this, you know?
Obligations? Yes.
But real big, long-term, like, what do I want out of my life? To figure out what that is. Or
and that you're allowed to think it.
Yes. That was particularly freeing for me too. I found that I never looked at the future, aside from all the things that people tell me I need to do, like plan for a retirement or, whatever. But
the
not
impending
who
things.
do you want to be in 30 years? And then work backward from there. And then I think you find that the steps aren't that difficult. Right? An exercise that we always love to do is when the lottery gets really high, we all sit down and say, what would we do with $3 billion lottery, right? And we sat down and I'm like, I want everything, all of the dreams, and I want it detailed, right? And my husband has always wanted this like dog park, laundromat, beer garden, which I think is a great idea.
Interesting.
You can just get so much accomplished at once. But, and then, my kids had ideas and things like that. And I'm like, oh, this is all great. This is everyone's dream life, right? And then I started like totaling it up. And I was like, guys, this is only like $2 million worth of stuff.
We gotta think bigger.
But the thing is, we had it as this massive dream that we needed $3 billion to accomplish. And it wasn't.
Right.
It's like perfectly, maybe not perfectly attainable, but it's within reach.
Some of those things are in
big
reach.
dream that we had. And so then you start dreaming bigger, right?
That's the lesson.
Yeah.
How big can it get?
But you have to dream in the first place and then realize like, oh, I can do so much more. So don't be afraid to dream.
Yeah, very good. This has been so great, and I think helpful and added value, and I'm so glad you came on the show.
Me too.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to keep your perspective, but be willing to step into somebody else's like we did with Christina today. Be resilient, continue to show up. You need you, your kids need you, the world needs you. Have a pursuit, have a dream, have a goal. Take one step in that direction. And remember that there are 2 billion of us moms around the world, and you are not alone. We are here for you. Thank you.